Well, welcome to the special edition of the Military Wire with Mike Schindler. I am, in fact, Mike Schindler, and I am coming to you from my home studio. So we never know what's going to happen in the home studio, but welcome to the show. We've got some special guests on this show. And if you guys recall, this is where we interview some of America's most elite men and women who have served this country in hopes that you get an aha moment from their story, their experience that you can apply to your own life. So that's the goal. Before we get started, I want to put a shout out to my brothers at Bone Frog Cellars and Bone Frog Coffee, founded by Lieutenant Commander Navy SEAL Tim Cruikshank and his business partner David Johnston. A portion of those proceeds go to support the families of fallen SEALs. So be sure you check those guys out at Bone Frog Cellars and Bone Frog Coffee. So how do we move from stuck to unstuck when we're dealing with trauma? What is holding you back and how do we deal with that? What are some strategies to work through that? We're going to discuss that today. You know, I think this past year, those who have struggled with depression, moral injury, suicidal ideation, personal issues has kind of elevated this past year, certainly because of the pandemic, social unrest, economic uncertainty. A lot of stuff has been coming to people. And so it seems to be new for some, but I will tell you that there's been a population that has dealt with it for decades, and that population is our U.S. veterans, and oftentimes their family members. And it's something that we have come to learn to be known as PTSD, or post-traumatic stress, or post-traumatic stress disorder. So Jen Satterly and Tom, welcome to the show. You guys can say hello first, and then I'll give you guys your intro that you so deserve, but both welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we really appreciate being here.
Yeah, 100%. Well, so Jen, you know PTSD from a firsthand knowledge dealing with this. You've been embedded with the Green Berets, Army Rangers, Navy SEALs during realistic military training. I'm reading this. This is like a big long bio that they made me read here. So,
but you do that. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep going. But you have witnessed this struggle with men and women dealing with PTSD. And it became even more personal for you when you fell in love with your husband, Tom, who is sitting next to you. So, and Tom, for those of you who don't know Tom, I'm going to give you guys Tom's bio. Highly decorated combat veteran, served 25 years with the last 20 in the U.S. military's most elite Tier 1 unit, Delta Force. Thank you for that. So you probably know General Boykin, who we've had on this show multiple times.
Yeah.
Is a great friend and hero of mine. And you've been involved in some of our nation's most important military missions, including the capture of Saddam Hussein. And after decades of service, Tom, it looks like you were close to suicide with PTSD. You're struggling with that. So, which is not uncommon with our special forces guys. So, Jen and Tom, you're here to talk about how we navigate this. But before we do that, I want to hear your story. Our audience loves to hear the love story and the fact that you guys have made it, which is a true testament to what you guys have gone through.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you two meet?
You know, I think
In divorce.
Yeah, the easiest way to tell this story is just start out in divorce, work
Is
your
that
way
right?
to a better life, because that's what we did. We started off in our worst possible conditions. We loved each other, but people love each other and get divorced still. They just can't live together. We came together like two hurricanes, and
Truly.
and man, it was fun. It was a fun ride, but until reality starts setting in, I think. You know, when I'm deep in the thralls of PTS and I'm having a great time, I'm a good guy to be around. I'm fun to hang out with, and that's how we met, kind of, through work, and it quickly turned into reality. And that's when the divorce comes in. It's. I mean, if you read my book, read Jen's book, you'll find out that the hero in both are Jen. It's someone who loves somebody and has compassion and empathy, and can stand there and watch you waller in your own pain and misery and help you get out of it, because she can't help you. She can give you tools.
Yeah.
She can show you the way, but she can't do the work for you. And she tried for a bit. And then finally, when we figured out
that almost buried me. So.
Yeah, that almost buried her and us. So we started figuring it out.
Yeah. It's a unique love story for sure. Probably, unique to Hollywood. It's told in such a different way. Most often it's very romanticized, and the reality of it looks way different. And so it leaves a lot of us questioning who, what's going on, and why is this happening, and how is it happening? And so we both were together, but also very isolated in this struggle. So yeah, we're kind of in our honeymoon phase now, though. I like him way more now than when I even married him. So.
I'm a better guy.
I love that. I think you raise a great point too, is, people get a lot of their knowledge from the media, right? Whether it's TV, movies, et cetera, these shows that come out, and they do, to your point, they romanticize it, make it look like, boy, this is so amazing and so incredible. And I think people forget that marriage relationships take work. I mean, they take work. My wife and I have been going on 25 years, celebrating 25 years of marriage together, 33, 32 years, knowing each other. And it takes tremendous work, right?
Yeah.
It's a job.
It's a full, and then you throw kids in the mix, and you throw dogs and cats and, whatever in life, right?
Chaos.
I love that you guys met through it and then struggled through it and are coming through it. I think there's a testament, there's a testimony in that for so many people. When did you first become aware that there was a struggle in the relationship? Was it, there's always a honeymoon period, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, like, how much longer do I have to deal with this? When did that happen for you guys?
Our wedding night.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that good?
We laugh about it because what we do
now.
is, because we can, but what we do is not fun. What we try to help people with is not fun. And we watch other veterans that help other people and they have fun things to do. And it's like, man, we don't have the fun one, but
No.
it's so important and so key that, stress, wedding night, what's greater stress than a wedding night? So what's a greater weight on a veteran suffering from PTSD who's hiding it all? And oh, by the way, drinking, so it was yet another wedding night, my fourth wedding night. And I blew that right off the start. All the other ones that started off okay. This one started off wedding night was there I am drinking again. Totally forgot I got married. It's, I guess, because I've done it for 3 other times. It was,
Thanks.
and it was, I don't know. I don't remember the night much. It was just another night for another guy suffering with no empathy or compassion. And the next morning woke up, I was like, hey, what happened? It was not a good night, was it? And you wake up nervous, man, I hope I didn't do something too horrible. And she's still there. And, we have to talk, Monday, we're going to figure this out, or we're not going to figure this out. And that was the day I figured out that I need to start covering my wrongdoings, I guess, okay, I'll get counseling now. Right.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people they start when it's a complete and utter wreck and they're doing something to keep their spouse from walking out the door. Okay, now I'll go. That's still not a reach for help, in my opinion, because I don't think it was for me. That was another trying to save the situation. And so that worked for a bit. Thank God it saved our marriage. And then Jen got serious about, hey, okay, look, and then I almost killed myself after that. It was one of those, well, yeah, no, it was before, but it was one of those, it's, I promise I'll do it. I don't do the work until you really have to want it from the inside. So people can you reach out to so-and-so? Can you help so-and-so? No, they have to ask us for help. It kind of sounds rough, but we haven't helped anyone who didn't want help. They have to reach out and ask. And I had to be in that position to where, okay, I need to ask for help. So we preach so much now, go get help before there's a problem. Fix your relationship before it's broken, just like the military. Again, that old PMCS manual. Don't let it break because it costs more money and takes more time. Keep it working properly.
Yeah.
Apply the same things we already know.
Yeah. It's a total tune-up, right? I think people they get scared of the fact they got to look, they got to fake it, right? Because of what they see, right? I got to live up to that, when in fact they're hurting inside. Tom and Jen, was there a trigger that, because Tom, you said something that's, for guys, and I'm just going to say it, my first book was all about, Operation Military Family, about keeping the military marriages strong. But we love to compartmentalize, right? And we love to just wait And you know, and the last thing we want to go to is, you know, marriage retreats. I remember when I was on the circuit doing marriage retreats, I'd have to come up with these clever sayings like how to talk your way into better sex and make money from it. And guys would show up, right? They're like, oh my God, I got to show up for that. And it was all about, you know, communication, sex, and money, but what was that trigger? Was there a trigger, or was it like, man, I'm just, you know, to save face, I got to do this. What was it for you?
To start it off for me to save face. I mean, I had that moment of, man, I am really doing this again, and I really need to get to work. And so I went to anger management first I just get angry, you know, breaking it down one symptom at a time.
Yep.
And that's where the guy said, you have PTSD. And I'm like, no, I don't. The VA said I didn't. So I don't have it. Well, you do, you know, so I'm sorry to tell you the bad news. And so that's, you know, speaking with Jen, and the good news, I guess,
then we got to work knowing what to do.
Yeah. Once you know what it is, once you accept, well, we know, right? We know we don't want to be called that. I'll lose my guns, my ammo, political, whatever excuse I have to keep from getting help, because it's embarrassing to say or admit you need help with something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of really where we work at most of what it is. I talk about Alcoholics Anonymous. I go, let's just put it in context. You can get on a bar drunk and act a fool in public all you want, and you're having a great time. But when you need to get help to stop that, you got to be anonymous about it. I go, why is that? Is it because of the alcohol? No, it was okay to drink alcohol. Oh, it's you need help not drinking alcohol. That's the anonymous part. You need help with the other group of men and women who need help, and you realize how big that family is. But sometimes we still don't realize, well, everybody needs help with everything along the way in life, and it's okay. You know, I wasn't born knowing how to shoot a rifle or a pistol or do CQB or any military tactics. I was taught that, and that's a form of help. I'm gonna, you know, so we restructure wording and verbiage and things to get guys to come in, but you know, you got to trick them. Jen says, hide the peas and the brownies, get them in for the sweet stuff, and then give them what they really need inside of it. And that's what my book was, hey, there's a cool military book, right? Yeah, not really. It's mostly about how I screwed up everything and almost died doing it. But it's sad that you got to do the verbiage, change the verbiage to get somebody to realize that it's okay to get help.
Yeah. Well, you got to, what is that saying? You got to give them what they want. You got to sell them what they want and give them what they need, right? I mean, that's, Jen, why did you stick it out? I mean, it would have been easy to just say, you know what, this isn't working out, right? You know, pull chocks, leave.
Way easier.
That's a Navy term for you.
It would have been way easier.
Way easier.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so what made you stick it out?
Long lean in. You know, I've been asked that so many times, like, why did you stay, or what was it about the relationship? And honestly, I've asked myself that so many times, and my answer is, I don't know. I've soul searched it, and the only answer I could come to is I've really kind of gotten back in touch with my spirituality over the last year. And kind of doing that work and a lot of the meditations, I truly believe, as cheesy as it sounds, is that we were meant to get to this place. And I knew, I guess in the back of my mind, we would get here, because what we have now is so great that I believed it would become this, and maybe had that knowing. And I always fought for him from the beginning. And I even told him even after our wedding and the disastrous thing that happened, it wasn't an ultimatum. We even sat and talked on the beach. We went to our spot that we used to go to when we dated, the same area where we got married the 2 nights before. And we sat on the bench and probably for 2 hours and didn't talk. And then I think one of the first things I said was, I'm not going to leave you. I don't ever want to leave you. We'll get through this, but I'm going to go back to St. Louis. I'm not coming back to Savannah to see you until you're getting help. So there was never an ultimatum of I'm leaving. I think maybe in the anger moment, there might have been I'll tear up the wedding certificate, or don't file on Monday. But when I had that calmness, I knew I believed he would get to this place, and this place is good.
And she was smart enough to know, and I just kind of thought about this now, is you don't give a special ops guy an ultimatum. I would have went later.
Yeah, probably.
And because I don't care I didn't care at the time. I would win. I would win and be right. And that is kind of another thing we need to break, is that no fail mission, where there are no fail missions. You just fail along the way and you keep going until you win, So it's not a no fail. And Guys that, swallowing pride, I guess is a good way to get it. We come out with a lot of pride. You're not going to tell me what to do, buddy. Honey, no way. You don't know anything. I've seen the world. And man, if we can get past ourselves,
Yeah.
we can get past that number of why 65,000 people have killed themselves in the same amount of time. Only 5,000 have been killed by the enemy. We're
Yeah.
better at it ourselves. And we need to get past our egos, our own egos of, you're going to leave me? Whatever. I don't care. I don't know how many times that came out of my mouth because I was just hiding and hurting. And if we can just admit that, if we can get guys to admit that, we'll save a lot of people.
Yeah. How do you do that? I mean, that's like the $1 million question, right? I mean, you're talking, men in general are traditionally not in touch with their feelings. And then, right, you get into the military, we've got this whole ethos that we're around, right? It's always this bravado that we're, trying to edge of the comfort zone, taking it to that next step, always, how do we move off the X without without getting shots, how do we come, all this stuff, right? And then we throw two people together that have had different training, right? Raised differently, different training, date for a little bit, maybe, if they're lucky. And then you put them together and you say, okay, now it's just going to be joyful. It's going to be amazingly
Forever.
Right, forever.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, until death do you part. So, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm stuck.
Yeah. How do I make that day get here sooner?
Oh my God.
What I love, gosh, I love this about your guys' story is the fact that you sat there on a bench and you let it sit, right? You let it sit, and then you had a conversation. Now, it might have not been pretty, and it was probably ugly through parts of it, but you did what Boykin calls, that is not physical courage, that's moral courage. You guys are the epitome of moral courage right there, right? Doing the right thing when it was easier to just say, hey, no, we could just say goodbye.
And that's exactly how we help other people with what you're doing with us. And
Right.
we're out on the dance floor going, look, we're idiots. We finally figured it out, and we have the way
Figuring
it out, of course.
Yeah.
Here's all the paths we danced.
Yeah.
I would suggest you not taking many of those. However, here's where we ended up, and here's how you can get that way, and we'll help you.
Better things we did.
There's just better ways to, instead of reinventing the wheel every time you get into an argument, so we talk to people about, hey, plan. You plan for pace, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. You're married. You're gonna fight, right? You're gonna argue. And typically we pull out the nuclear options. Oh yeah, well, you look like your mother, or, oh yeah, well, you're never good in the unit, and it's like, what? So why do we do that? Make rules about how to argue, so you argue within the rules. The war has rules. Why wouldn't relationships have rules?
Yeah.
It's like a war.
What motivates you guys to keep doing this? I mean,
okay, that wasn't it. Every text, I got a couple today, earlier, and I'm going to respond to that. What you're doing, or thank you, or your therapist is so amazing, it's such a rock star. And I'm like, she is a rock star. She's helped us, and that's why we fired the other 4. We hired her because she gets it.
She is.
Not judgmental. That's where I've been saying more and more, hey, more curious, less judgmental. If we were just more curious about why are you doing that, not judgmental, look what they're doing, would go so much further so fast. And when people finally just realize that, and she helps somehow, some way with the tools, she's a rock star, and we need to clone her. So that's what we're working on next, is cloning her.
Yes.
But yeah, it's helping other people and hearing their stories and watching the smiles on their face, and then when they call, hey, we got in a fight last week, we're all screwed up again. I go, guess what? You're also human, man. You're going to fight.
Yeah.
Civilians fight, and they don't have PTS. Veterans think that PTS is reserved only for them, and that civilians have civilians have perfect living, right? No, they have it all too. So you're going to argue, you're going to fight, things are going to be tough.
Yeah, that's not always PTS, but
use the tools that we
I
gave you.
would say also, to your question too, this has been a huge healing measure selfishly for us. Like, I love what we do every day. a friend had sent me a song the other day, and it was the lyrics were something like, I'm on vacation because I love my occupation. And she sent it to me because
Mm,
I love what I do every day. And it's a blessing, it's a privilege, it's an honor. I never served, but I feel like in some capacity, this is a way I can give back. And I have a heart for it. I mean, I live it, so I get it. And every day I talk to spouses too, warriors and spouses, and just to hear that connection of all these years I thought it was me is like the number one thing I first hear from a spouse. And just to make that connection, you're not alone in this. There's a lot of us, in fact, millions of us that feel the same way. And there's something to do about it. You can get to the other side of it. If we can do it, anybody can do it.
yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys are really working like reversal of desire, right? You got to push people, it's like, I don't want to face that, but you're like, no, you have to face it. You've got to get through it. And through that, you guys are making generational impact. I love this so much. Share with us, the arsenal of hope, really what this is all about, because I think people want it, they need it. The mental health issues are kind of off the charts, right? People are struggling. There's no better time than now for people to hear this. So tell us more about what you guys are doing.
So, Arsenal of Hope, All Secure was written by Tom, and it really started addressing the issues. I recommend it to spouses all the time too, to better understand our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. It's a great way to kind of pick up and get a better understanding of some of the challenges that, as a spouse, that we might not understand that's truly going on. Where I felt like Tom's book, we had you had about 40,000 words deleted from his book, because the publisher said 100,000. So that back half was a little bit more of what Arsenal of Hope truly is.
Got it.
It was, here are some tools. This is what you can do about it. Here are some research methods of healing. Here's some other stories of other warrior families and what they've gone through. His book was going to start kind of touching on that. It didn't get there. And so after he was done, I said, I have to do a book. I want it to be for spouses and for warriors, law enforcement, civilians suffering with PTS. I don't care if you're a human being and you're suffering and you don't want to suffer anymore. You could pick up the book to better understand what's going on with you or a loved one. And what I really wanted to do is bring tools in. So it's not just information, it's practical steps that you could start doing right away. We've heard behavioral shifts. People are calling a week after, like, I've been trying this for a week and it works. I'm like, yeah, this stuff works.
Funny.
It's not, I didn't invent it. It's things that we've been taught along the way by our gurus, by field experts.
Yeah. So do you guys have a group? Do you guys do any coaching along the way? So if I pick up the book, somebody picks up the book and they go, you know what, Jen and Tom, I need this mentorship. Are there places they can turn to get it?
Yeah.
Well, because twofold, yes.
Yeah.
And building on that more, yes. So All Secure Foundation, when you go to our contact form at allsecurefoundation.org, that email directly goes straight to me. I read every single email that comes in. I do that so that if somebody wants to share something very personal, something confidential, I've got you. I'm never going to share that information. From there, we can kind of figure out, is this a marketing call, a fundraising call? Is this something for Tom to handle, or for our therapist? So that's one way to get in contact with us. We have some great programs. We have more that are launching, and an online program that's coming up soon as well. So hopefully that's launching this summer. So that's some ways that you can get in contact with us and work with us.
That's so great. So let's talk about the tactics for taking on PTSD, because I think sometimes, and I'm of the mindset it's really PTS. I'm kind of that mindset, but I talk about post-traumatic growth. I think these are opportunities for us to grow through, right? And I get stuck on grow through. But let's talk tactics just for a moment. If there was one thing that you believe every family who's struggling with this needs to do right now, like they're watching this, listening to this, what is that?
I would say the very first thing to do is to become aware in this moment. Like, if you're already got the pan to the side of your head and you're feeling like this message is for me, don't let it sit. Don't let it go another day, another week, another minute without taking some sort of action. Because most people have already been thinking about, you know what, I really want to go see a therapist. You know what, I've been wanting to go try that floating thing, that my friends are talking about. There's some action that you might be aware of or already working towards you've been putting off. The longer you put it off, the longer you're going to suffer. The sooner you can get to it, the better you're going to feel. It's a really simple equation. If you don't know what that next step is, go to Google. I kid you not, that's what I did. I mean, there's books and resources. I could say go pick up Arsenal of Hope.
What she meant was go to allsecurefoundation.org.
Yes.
Because we've been going to Google before and it makes it difficult. So that's when we started as a resource library, when she was Googling everything to help me and why is he acting weird and what's wrong with him. It came up, once she finally found the answers and went to health coaching school and started putting things together, we started putting that on the website to make it easy for people to find help. Then that's when we got into let's help people. Let's share our story. And that's when it got into, write a book. It's the quickest way to share a story and reach the most people. So they can do it privately, because of what we do is so hard for people to admit. We call it the 10,000 pound phone that disappears once it hits you. Once I answer, once she answers, it disappears. It's hard to start. Like I'll work out Monday. My diet will start tomorrow. You know what? We do it in everything we do. So action, take action. It won't hurt you to go get help. It'll better you only. If you didn't need it, then you're still better.
Yeah.
So we've spent our lives, recent lives, trying to get everyone to removing the excuses for everyone. So many people at Fort Bragg. All right, let's build a brick and mortar at Fort Bragg. We'll make it easy. We'll do off hours, weekends, lunch. Just take away every excuse. We'll do that for you, but you still have to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Nobody can fix you. You gotta take that first step. I love that. It is really taking action. I mean, that's the first step. And I tell people all the time, I mean, I'm not bashful about it. I still have a therapist to this day. I see him once a week. Once a week.
We do.
I'm like, gosh, man, all the stuff that I got to take on that you guys probably have to take on, I got to give it to somebody else. I mean, I can't carry that weight. So
That's the misnomer. And people are like, how are you guys so better now? And I'm like, look, it's social media, man. I'm not going to show you videos of us fighting. Sometimes we actually do. We've talked about it. Like, we just fought how to make this video before this video started on how to argue. I mean, we're honest about it because it helps other people realize, it's honesty. It's funny. And now that you've done it, it's okay that somebody else has done it. Then the dance floor fills up.
How refreshing. That is so refreshing. So for people to get in touch with you, so Tom, your book, All Secure, Jen, your book, Arsenal of Hope, to reach out to you guys, allsecurefoundation.org. That's the best way for people to reach out to you, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that is awesome. Man, I love your story. I want people to engage with you big time. So to our audience, be sure you check out Jen and Tom. Be sure you pick out their books. And again, Tom's book, All Secure, and Jen's book, Arsenal of Hope. Visit allsecurefoundation.org. Be sure you check these guys out. It is the best step you can take in your relationship. And even if you're struggling alone, it's still the best step you can take, is always to have that battle buddy, a mentor, somebody alongside you to help you navigate life. Because it can be, I'll keep this PG, but it can be crazy. But we all know what the military term is for it. So to our audience, be sure you check these guys out. I love you guys. Seriously, love you guys. Just met you guys. I don't want people to think that we've been in a long-term relationship, because we haven't. You guys are amazing. I love your story. For those who are looking to get back on a pathway to success, to discover your post-service identity, be sure you check out what we're doing at Operation Military Family. And again, if you guys want to get back on your pathway to success in your relationship, check out Arsenal of Hope. Jen and Tom, thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.